Can I get roll call called?
Ms. Schilling? Ms. Williams?
Present.
Mayor Anderson?
Present.
Mr. Magner?
Present.
Ms. Schulist?
Here.
Mr. McDonald?
Present.
Mr. Callie?
Here.
Mr. Pape?
Present.
Ms. Senyard?
Present. Moving to opening prayer and pledge. Mr. Magner, will you lead us?
Well, Lord, we thank you for the beautiful spring weather that you provided. We ask for your guidance this evening. We appreciate our health, and we thank you for all that you've given us this evening. Amen.
I will take a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Mayor Anderson, Mr. McDonald. Please take a vote.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Schilling? Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Magner?
Aye.
Ms. Schulist?
Aye.
Mr. Callie?
Aye.
Mr. Pape?
Aye.
Ms. Senyard?
Aye. Moving to citizens' comments. Do we have any?
We have none.
Thank you. I will take a motion for approval of the minutes for the February 13th regular meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Magner Callie? Is that correct? Okay.
Mr. Magner?
Aye.
Mr. Callie?
Aye.
Ms. Schilling?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Schulist?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Pape?
Aye.
Ms. Senyard?
Aye. I'll take a motion for the approval of the February 29th special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Mayor Anderson, Mr. Pape?
Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Pape?
Aye.
Ms. Schilling? Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Magner?
Aye.
Ms. Schulist?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Callie? Ms. Senyard?
Abstain. Old business, PC Resolution PC 0524, Amendment to the City of Fairview Zoning Ordinance, Article 6, Residential Districts, Section 6-104, Purposes and Intent of AR Agricultural Residential. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Mayor Anderson, Mr. McDonald? Any discussion? Or I guess, does staff have a new comment to add this time?
No new comment. This was deferred from the February meeting to tonight. Just a reminder that this is a amendment to the zoning ordinance that would allow for veterinary services for livestock and animal care and veterinary services for small animals to both occur within agricultural zoning districts as a conditional use, which means they would have to be approved through BOZA to have this use within agricultural.
Any discussion or questions among the board? I feel like last time we asked if y'all could get back in touch with whoever had raised the question and ask a few more clarifying questions or anything. Was that able to happen? Did they decline? What transpired there?
The person who brought it to my attention is actually out of town this week.
Okay.
I spoke with them asking if they were available to come in and speak. In theory, a veterinary clinic such as White Oak Animal Clinic that currently services livestock and, or at least horses and small animals, no other facility of that nature could operate within the city of Fairview how the current zoning ordinance reads. We do not offer any zoning district that allows those uses together. And so as a staff, myself, Kevin, and Curtis, along with Will, have all put together our heads, and we thought that within agricultural zoning, to maintain that livestock remain on agricultural lands is probably the most likely scenario versus having agricultural animals on commercial properties.
Be clear, staff is asking this board for a positive recommendation to the BOC.
That's correct.
Mr. Chair, question. This question might be for Mr. Greer. Do you think that this resolution, if passed, will have a negative connotation for an existing business that might already be servicing livestock animals within city limits?
No, the existing businesses all fall, currently they are non-conforming use. That was inherited once the zoning ordinance was updated in 2019. So if they wanted to open a second location and do the exact same thing, they could not do that unless they currently could not do that, how the zoning ordinance reads, unless they got it rezoned. And again, this goes into the AR-15 zoning, so you have to have a minimum of 15 acres to be able to be a veterinary service for livestock, which gives ample room and separates it kind of from the city a little bit by having 15 acres to maintain, whether that is off of Crowcut where there are a few agricultural properties, off of Highway 96 there are a few agricultural properties, off of Highway 100 there are a few agricultural properties. And so with the 15 acres, you're able to sufficiently separate yourself from the surrounding land uses.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. So just to make sure, I think that helps my vote, that we are not having a negative impact on an existing business. Yes, sir.
I would just add in regards to non-conforming use, there are state regulations that protect non-conforming uses. So that would be outside of the zoning ordinance here. So there are state level protections for non-conforming uses that they can maintain their business in perpetuity.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Any additional comments, questions, concerns before we, yes, Ms. Schilling?
I just think it's a good idea. I have animals that it takes an hour for somebody to come, but it also would be great to have it here so that it could, the farmland that's out in Bon Aqua, they wouldn't have to wait an hour. Maybe not going towards Nashville, but there's certainly a lot of farms out here this way.
And just to speak to, I think your intent is, location-wise, again, this is a conditional use, so it would have to be approved by BOZA on these pieces of property. So there is another level of approval that they would have to get to be able to do this.
I'd like to see it come.
All right, take a vote.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Ms. Schilling,
Aye.
Ms. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Ms. Schulist,
Aye.
Mr. Callie,
Aye.
Mr. Pape,
Aye.
Ms. Senyard.
Aye. Motion passes. New business PC Resolution PC-07-24, rezoning 0 Fairview Boulevard, 14.76 acres, map 023, parcel 053.00, current zoning commercial general, proposed zoning industrial restrictive, property owner RBP LLC. Do I have a motion on the floor?
Move for approval.
Mayor Anderson, Ms. Williams. City staff, would you like to read in your notes?
Our staff report was provided to you. This parcel, you'll go to the next slide, please, Keith. This parcel is located off of Highway 100. There's a parcel that sits in front of it. It's a little over 2 acres that sits on Highway 100, and it has a 50-foot access easement through that back to this parcel. The proposed zoning of this is for industrial restrictive zoning. And we have a few, the engineer on record is here tonight, and I believe we have a couple other speakers who would like to speak. But from our perspective, from our office, we recommend this due to the owner who is looking to purchase this property. In your staff report, there was included a letter from Williamson Inc., which is the Chamber of Commerce. I believe that they have a representative here to speak tonight as well that will speak to that. If you have any questions as far as the 2040 plan is concerned, I believe that they can also speak to the 2040 plan. This property is not in the 2040 plan as having a industrial restrictive zoning as an appropriate zone. But through our conversations with the ownership, the engineer, and their conversations with our office and Williamson Inc., we believe that it would be in the best interests of Fairview to have this business relocate to Fairview, Tennessee. And I encourage the representatives here tonight to come up and speak.
As long as no commission members have something in advance, I'll invite the representatives up to be able to start off and then be able to answer questions. If you'll just, before you speak, introduce yourself.
My name is Louis Sloyan, and I'm with T-Square Engineering, and I helped the applicant submit this to get rezoned. So it's really, it's a very light industrial use. When I was talking to the prospective business, everything's indoor, it's basically an office building. There's no outdoor storage of anything. It's a very light manufacturing use. It's sitting back off of the roadway. It really think it lends itself to this property. There was already a site plan approved that it would be a modification to that site plan to be able to get this business to fit on that same kind of site plan. So I think it's a great use for this site. If you have any other questions, if I can't answer them, I'll invite the owners up and they can help answer anything that you guys might have.
Are you able to? It's not shown, but are you able to give us a roundabout location of where the building is going to sit in those boundaries and how large this building is going to be?
So about right where he's pointing up there. It would be, there's kind of two knolls on this site. And the first one is about where he was showing. And then in the very back of the site, there's another knoll. It's kind of prohibitive to get back there all the way in the back. You have to cross, I believe it's a stream to get there, and cross through a bunch of steep slopes and get rid of a whole bunch of trees and stuff. So it's very, very prohibitive to kind of get back there. So the front part is kind of the best part there. But there is a lot of tree vegetation that would remain between these two parcels and it's significantly downhill from the road. So the building wouldn't even be seen, even though it is going to be more of an office type building rather than a traditional manufacturing metal building.
How easy is it for people from Camp Marymount to get there?
They would have to go out onto Fairview and come around. There's a
Okay.
substantial stream and a lake that they would have to cross to try to go through dense woods and that to get there if they tried to go through without using the road.
Gotcha.
Madam Chair.
Of course.
Okay, I had a lengthy discussion with the owner about this project. You might remember this came to us as a business that, we've already seen a business that wanted to be on this property with site plan, and it was approved at that time. So that's kind of already been looked at. But anyway, this is a restrictive industrial office space that is very minor industrial use. I have checked, and there's no property available in the industrial park, so that's something to take into consideration. What's so awesome about this, and I know Annalisa will come up and speak to this as well from the Williamson Inc., this is a great opportunity for our mechatronics program. What they manufacture is just right in line with our students at the high school who go through the mechatronics program. When I spoke with the owner, two things were very, something that I really wanted to see, and this is aligned perfectly with this. So my son was in the first graduating class of the mechatronics program, and as a part of that, they have a work-study program of 200 hours that they have to complete to be able to graduate in this program. So, our students had to go to Smyrna, out to Nissan, they had to go to Saturn to get these work hours in. We have the opportunity to have a business here that provides those work-study hours for our students. Not only that, but it also will provide approximately $1 million worth of jobs for our community. Our mechatronics students will fit perfectly in with this. Those students that may not want to go to college right away, or maybe not at all, this is the perfect opportunity because they will hire from, partially from the students in this program who may want to go directly into a technical field with no experience. And quite a big salary, I might add, not anything I experienced right out of school. So it's just a great opportunity for jobs, our mechatronics students, their work study. Like I said, it's very light industrial. You would never even, if you looked at this project, know that there's industrial going on. I just see this as a positive for our community, and I'm excited for Annalisa to come forward and speak to it more through the Williamson Inc. side of this. That's all.
Madam Chair, I do have a couple questions, and this might be directed towards the property owner or business representative if they're available.
Do you mind introducing yourself just before you answer questions?
Yep, Michael Hartman, and the owner of Laystar.
Okay, thank you, sir. How many people do you think this would employ?
Early on, probably 25.
25, okay.
Yeah.
And just because I have to ask this, it's because of the residential neighbors, and it has a industrial label.
Yeah.
And industrial carries a nuance of definitions. So just to make sure that I feel comfortable with voting one way or the other, bear with me. There's one paragraph in zoning.
Okay.
And I'm just curious if any of these things apply, and if it does, you'll have the chance to tell us, to what extent, okay? And really what I'm looking for here are anything that would create more or less a life safety or hazardous concern, okay? I'm going to read the list, and then if you will, just respond afterwards if you wouldn't mind. Does this particular industrial development create any danger of fire, explosions, toxic or noxious matter, radiation? It does say smoke, dust, or particulate matter, but I think that could, personally, I think that could be of a dispute there, or other hazards, offensive noise, vibration, odorous matter, heat, humidity, glare, or objectionable influences. Now, I know that's a very extensive, very broad that could probably come from a residential neighborhood as well. But I just have to ask the question because we don't know exactly what you're doing or.
No, I can comfortably answer that question with no, it doesn't. As far as the cleanliness, the stuff like that, our primary portion of our company is actually a laboratory, and it's actually way cleaner than residential or anything else you're gonna do. Even for that matter, even the air coming and going out is all, filtered, and it's HEPA filter, it's, crazy purity. Very clean is kind of the nature of we're dealing with a lot of microelectronic parts. Cleanliness is absolute key, so everything is spotless.
So no hazardous
No,
waste?
no,
Okay.
no. The harshest things we use are some machine coolants, which are water soluble, not hazardous at all. Nothing flammable, nothing concerning at all.
Okay.
Nothing I can think of on that list that's even in question.
To speak to what's allowed within the industrial restrictive zoning for manufacturing, you have apparel accessories such as hats, jewelry, and umbrellas, art objects, bakery goods, beverages, dairy products, instruments for scientific, medical, dental, engineering, and other, professional purposes, printed matter, signs, book binding, candle making, data processing service, photocopying, photo engraving. The use that would be needed in this case would be precision machining of dies, jigs, and fixtures, printing, publishing, record pressing, and upholstering, with the note that no activity included within this group shall involve the outside storage of any amount of raw materials or finished goods.
Ethan, how is that different than light industrial? Sorry.
I think mainly indoor-outdoor use is what I've read. Light industrial, I think you can have some outside storage and stuff, if I read it right.
In our zoning ordinance, I don't have anything for light industrial as a term. This would be industrial restrictive zoning, particularly the manufacturing limited activity type is what I just read off to you.
Just to add to that real quick, you have restrictive industrial districts, general industrial districts, and special industrial districts.
Can I ask our favorite question? What happens if they no longer exist? What else can go there without us voting on it? What else can, what happens if we rezone this and y'all don't ever build, don't take it, decide to go elsewhere, need a bigger lot in Fairview even? What does the zoning allow? What is the checkpoints?
The zoning allows the permitted uses are administrative services, essential public transport and communication and utility services, which are essentially allowed in every zoning that we have in our zoning ordinance. The commercial activities are automotive parking, medical professional services, full-service restaurant, fast food restaurant, self-service storage, wholesale goods. And those are the permitted uses within this, along with the manufacturing activities of limited and general manufacturing. General manufacturing, much to our dismay, does not have a fantastic definition. It leaves it very broad for you to decide if it falls within that. Limited manufacturing has a very specific definition that is being utilized in this case, and it lists out exactly the activity types of what is allowed. So industrial restrictive definitely restricts the land to those specific permitted uses, whereas industrial general opens it up a little bit more, and then the special industrial has some cases where you can have hazardous materials and things along that nature. So the restrictive is by far the closest to a commercial zone that we have, because it allows essentially most of the commercial activities that you see within our commercial zoning, and then it allows the limited manufacturing, which is what they are seeking for.
And as long as they were making no adjustments to the site plan, building, et cetera, anyone could take it over and operate out of there as long as they fit the restrictions. There's no, it's not a special permitted use like we were talking about the veterinary.
No, this is, as long as they had fit within a permitted use, the uses run with the zoning, and the zoning runs with the land.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'd also like to point out there's commercial all around this. So,
I think that's the key question is what else can this be used for without coming back? And I think oftentimes when we have zoning discussions, we focus on the immediate user. And very frequently, the immediate user may use the property for a period of time, but then it's sold and used for something else. And so when you rezone property, the zoning doesn't change. It's zoned that way forever, unless it's rezoned. And so I think that's the key question. And my other comment is for this item and the second item and third item, these are all rezonings. A zoning change is legislative in nature, and so you have a lot of discretion. This is not the arbitrary and capricious standard that we talk about a lot with site plans or minor modifications or other items like this. This is a change in the zoning ordinance, so you have lots of discretion on these next three items.
Madam Chairman, I've one quick question. You mentioned starting at 25 jobs is your hope to grow to a larger amount?
Yeah, ideally, like, if I had it my way right now, I would have 25. I could use that easily right now. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I totally see 30 or 35 in the fairly immediate future if I can find the help. So,
Great.
Right now, we're about 18, but that's only because help's so hard to find. I would have more if I could.
I hear you on that one.
Annalisa, would you mind joining us, just because I feel like some of the questions are going to be for you?
Yep, happy to.
And then we can
Yep.
get them all out of the way.
Yeah, so good evening. My name is Annalisa Roberts. I work at Williamson Inc., which is both the Chamber of Commerce and Office of Economic Development for Williamson County. My specific role is new business development, so I help companies like Lazy Star come to our community, Williamson County as a whole. And then for existing industry, I help with expansion work. So our team became aware of Lazy Star a few weeks ago. We met with the owners. Really excited about this project specifically for Fairview. As he's mentioned, it's great CapEx, it's great job creation. I think we're looking at 60 jobs over a 5-year period is kind of what the state metrics are looking at. $7.3 million investment in Fairview. But the thing that I'm most excited about this project is like what Mayor Anderson referenced. This is highly specialized manufacturing of small components for communication and technology devices. I was told by the owners and some of our state partners as a part of this that a heavy mail day for them is a shoebox size of materials. And so when we're talking about manufacturing, we're talking about industrial space, I think sometimes that's a trigger word, but from what I understand about this project, it's small components and small devices that are used in DoD contracts in space and aerospace primarily. We'll also, the exterior of the building is gonna look like a medical office building, again, what I've been told.
Yeah.
So
I was hoping to have the plans. I got an architect working on them, but they're not done yet. So.
But when we look at job creation in Williamson County, we look long-term at our students and what jobs are being provided. Like Mayor Anderson referenced, this is an incredible opportunity, and the willingness of the owner to partner with the schools to provide that specialized training for students here in Fairview, it's just a win all around. I'd also like to add that this group will create long-term 60 jobs, and those are people who are staying in Fairview during the day, right? So then you're supporting the restaurants, the businesses that are here. Fairview's a bedroom community. So I'm excited about the opportunity to keep some people locally here in this community to utilize those businesses and purchase their services. Other than that, I just am excited to welcome the business here. I look for your support, and if I can answer any questions specifically from a Williamson County perspective, let me know.
Well, I think this is a good idea, and I think hopefully it's the tip of the iceberg, because in years past, I was on the industrial board here, and Mr. Hall, Commissioner Hall knows that when the last city manager was here, we had Williamson County people here, the state here, TVA here. We had maps out, and Mr. Hall had gotten signatures from people on different pieces of property. And if you have any more questions, you could talk to Mr. Hall or Commissioner Hall. But we were gung-ho because we needed, for the students that are coming out of our school, why should they go somewhere else?
Right.
They should work here.
That's right. And so to your point, we are working, our team is actively working with TVA and the state to see what the company is eligible for in terms of workforce grants, in terms of relocation grants. I will also add that the owner is relocating his family here. So in terms of, I've heard some questions about what happens if this project, or if this company decides not, they have invested in this community personally as well. So I'm really excited about that and what it means long-term for Fairview.
Single location business. We're moving.
Well, maybe you'll need a bigger lot one day.
Understand.
I'd also like to point out a couple points. Within our 2040 plan, once you get down to the bottom, it's on page 129 of our plan, we have economic development goals. And one of those goals is to recruit testing laboratories as well as other light manufacturing businesses. And I believe that this fits within that perfectly. They also have, to Ms. Sinyard's point, they have 14 acres there. If they needed to expand, there is some room to expand.
Question for Civil. Am I correct in understanding, because of the topography of the site, that for whatever reason, if the owner doesn't fulfill and they sell the lot without building, there's, with the other land uses under restrictive industrial, like a fast food place, there really isn't an opportunity or room for that?
There might be room for that. There's enough room. I'm trying to remember on the original site plan. What was does it say the limit of disturbance there? It's under 3 acres of disturbance to kind of build that site, and it really is limited by the steep slopes in that area. I believe Ethan's showing you the currently approved plan. So you could in theory fit something else there. It would have to be a site plan that comes through to you guys to be able to get approved, so.
And, sorry. Ms. Schulis, I also think it's limited with industrial for max coverage up to 50%. So I think based on this particular site, I don't know that you could develop a whole lot more.
Right. I guess what I'm getting at is all the economic parts of it is great. Our job is to make sure everything fits within the 2040 plan, subdivision regulations, all of those things. So that's really what we care about. I do love that it partners with schools, because this is where my kids go to school, and they would love that too. So we just want to be good stewards and make sure that if the plan goes away, that there's not something that's going to go there that is detrimental or affects surrounding lots, surrounding businesses, things like that. And it sounds like that's probably not possible, right? So
Yeah,
the restrictions of the land use.
The restrictions based on, the current stormwater ordinance and the grading requirements for that, it really restricts kind of the buildable areas. And really to even expand further than that, we would have to get variances or go well above and beyond, and it would be very cost prohibitive for anybody to kind of go beyond that 3 acres.
Sure. Thank you.
I don't have any other questions, just some discussion for when we get to that. A couple things on this. Number one, I think we can learn from this in the future and take some notes. And, we're getting ready to do a modification to our zoning ordinance. And, you know, we might not be having a lot of these discussions if we consider allowing some light industrial uses in our commercial zoning as a special use permit. So that would still have to come forward to us. So maybe we make that note for when we're going through our zoning changes, and we wouldn't even be here talking about a change, and they would be completely bound by the commercial zoning. I think it's a great use. I think relative to the 2040 plan, if you just look purely at the land use part of the 2040 plan, no, it doesn't fit. But when you start looking at the economic goals and things of that nature, it does. So it's one of those things that fits in between. So we have to look at, you know, whether it's the best thing for Fairview. I think the last thing that I thought about is I looked at the design standards, and obviously this is the first step. This is a rezoning. They'll still have to come through site plan approval, and we'll get to see their site plans and all that. And I only found, I'm new with these regulations, but I only found 2 areas in the design regulations where industrial is treated differently than commercial, and it's pretty minor stuff. It's like interior landscape islands and building materials. And with the topography of this site, I don't think you would see any of that. So they're still going to be bound by all the same buffers and perimeter landscaping requirements that you would in commercial. So I think there are a lot of boundaries in place already with our design standards that will keep this from turning into any, you know, use that we wouldn't be happy with in the future. So those are just some things that I noted on it.
Just to add to what Mr. Pape said, the current site plan that they submitted before, and I don't see much of a change from what they'll submit in the future if this is rezoned. It's 20 feet below Highway 100 and 150 feet off of Highway 100, so 200 feet, sorry. So there is that factor as well. So if I agree with everything that's been said, not that you care, but I'm here just for engineering.
Validated.
You still have that restriction, even if this is not what's going to be there in the future. You still have that to consider when you rezone this. So,
I just have a quick question. Has really, I don't think anything to do with the decision tonight, but I'm sure there's probably some people watching at home or even sitting here in the audience that have similar curiosities. It sounds like this is an established business that's been around.
Yeah, we've been in business for 23 years.
Great. Where are you coming from? Just curious.
Northern California, Livermore, California, so Bay Area.
No income tax, right? That's what we're.
That's a plus. That's a plus.
Very good. I was just curious for my own knowledge. Thank you.
Yeah, we've been in business a long time, and our customer base is really spread out throughout the country. We have we have more customers on the East Coast than we do on the West Coast. So everything we do comes and goes in UPS and FedEx boxes daily. So we don't deal with freight and trucking and any of that kind of stuff. So where we're located, we don't really deal with, face-to-face customers very often at all. Once a year for a visit type of deal. So
There's a local business that can help you with with your shipping needs. Right.
They ship their own, just as a point. I don't want that to get it. I don't want that to be, no, they ship their own. It has nothing to do with me.
Any remaining questions, comments before we take a vote? Okay, vote it is.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Ms. Williams,
Aye.
Ms. Schilling,
Aye.
Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Ms. Schulist,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Mr. Callie,
Aye.
Mr. Pape,
Aye.
Ms. Senyard.
Aye. Motion passes.
thank you.
Item number 2, PC Resolution PC 0824, rezoning 7431 Crowcut Road, 20.2 acres, map 046, parcel 016.01, current zoning agricultural residential AR 15A, proposed zoning R20, 1 and 2 family residential district, property owner Edna Cannon. Do I have a motion on the floor?
Motion to approve.
Just on this item and the next one, on these rezonings, we're really not approving them. We're making a motion to positively recommend it to the BOC. I think we all know that's what we're doing, but so the minutes are clear, and so the people at home that are watching this are clear. We don't have final authority here, so if we could just make sure to be careful with our motions on these types of rezoning items, I think we'd be better off.
Should I revise that to? Motion to approve a positive recommendation to the Board of Commissioners.
Is there a second? Second. Shoeless Williams. City staff, would you like to read in your comments?
The 7431 Crowcut Road rezoning would take this parcel from AR 15A to R20. This parcel sits just north of Aiden Woods Phase 3. Fronts Crowcut Road, adjacent to the backside of Bowie Park. The Fairview Forward 2040 Comprehensive Plan designates this property as new residential medium neighborhood. The new residential medium neighborhood classification notes the appropriate land uses are single-family detached residential, single-family attached residential limited to two-family homes, mixed-use commercial office space, multifamily residential, and civic institutional. The new residential medium neighborhood classification lists the RS40 and R20 with a PUD zone districts as appropriate zoning for the property. The requested R20 zone comes out of the adjacent property being Aiden Woods. Those are all R20 zoned properties. I believe the intent of the applicant with this, the applicant was Brandon Robertson with A1 Home Builders, who developed Aiden Woods, would be to create another phase of Aiden Woods on that northern parcel. Staff recommends providing a positive recommendation to the Board of Commissioners for this parcel, as it would match the adjacent property that has already been rezoned and is currently under construction for Aiden Woods Phase 3.
Do we have a representative that would like to join us? Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself so when they start pestering you with questions, we've already got that on record.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. I'm Allison Corolla with T-Square Engineering. I'm the applicant tonight. Just here to request that this property is zoned, again, to Ethan's point, in kind with the adjacent parcels. We also have some R8 zoning just right down the street, and we're right across from Bowie, so we feel like it would be a great asset, to these homeowners to be in this location.
Discussion, questions? McDonald, looks like you have something.
Yeah, I have I'll start with staff first. I can't remember or can't recall off the top of my head at what size a development has to be before it triggers like traffic studies and additional research and things like that we require. Is it around 100, 120 or something like that, roughly? It's not really, that part's not the most important thing. What I'm trying to do is, I guess, and it's no fault of any applicant that comes in here, you buy land, you build a development, and then the property next door comes available, and you buy that, and you grow some more, and then the next property, and so on and so on. So I guess at what point, I'm asking, at what point do we reevaluate a subdivision or a development that's being built in phases such as this one, to where it's past that threshold to where the impact is probably worthy of a traffic study, but no one phase broke that threshold for us to require that? And is that something that we, I guess just any information you can provide around that situation?
So in our Fairview subdivision regulations, residential developments with more than 100 dwelling units would be the requirement of a traffic impact study. Now, does that mean 100 units for the entire subdivision? Does it mean per phase? That's something we can look into. So I think after this meeting, we'll look into Aiden Woods as a whole and look at your request. It's a great question. But, you know, obviously tonight, just rezoning, but we'll definitely take note of it and get back with you.
Thank you.
And something I like to note here too, you know, the property is 20 acres, but due to topographical constraints, you can see on there that we have both a pond as well as a few wetlands on the site that we are preserving. So we're preserving about half of the site. And so we're only proposing 18 lots, and it's only 17 additional lots. There is an existing home on the property.
Madam Chair, so just for clarification, because I didn't do the math, you said 17 additional lots is what you're currently planning?
Correct, yes, sir.
With that
And-
zoning, the new
And
zoning?
realistically, that's all that's feasible with the topography and with the existing wetlands.
You know what the total number of dwelling units would take this to for Aiden Woods subdivision by chance?
I do not, but I can certainly get back to you.
I'll bite on that. I think it's in the aggregate, so I think that's the only way that makes sense in our zoning ordinance, and I think our job is to protect the city. So if these 18 lots push them over 100, I think they need to do a traffic study. I'll go on record to say that.
And I think our intention is to abide by, you know, any regulations that the city brings forth.
Sure, and that was just, I think it's more of just you happen to be here right now and it triggered the conversation. It has nothing necessarily to do
Lucky
with you.
me.
Yeah. Well, it happens, right? Like, you know,
I understand.
I don't think you set out years ago when they began this development that it would be the size that it is. So just something for us to consider. Thank you.
And while I'll say that the 2040 plan, when I see PUD versus R20, I kind of take it with a grain of salt because PUDs then for the city were different to start with. They made it a 10,000 square foot lot. So people were coming with PUDs all the time. They were not a mixed thing. There's a lot of things up in when they wrote it different than it is today. But I did kind of have a similar question where a lot comes available and then we're supposed to zone it matching, and the next lot comes available and it's supposed to zone it matching, but it's starting to stretch out. And so while I'm not completely against the R20 or that it doesn't match the area, I start going, how far do you take that to match the existing zoning? And how far do you stretch that? Because some neighborhoods do go from denser to less dense in the back, and so an argument could be made for this to be less dense than the surrounding, and be the bigger estate lots in the back of the neighborhood.
Madam Chair, I had another question as well. Sorry, Mr. Pape. Remind me too, because I don't have reference to the current phases that are under construction, but would this phase and the higher density utilize, this would utilize Crow Cut for your traffic volume, is that correct?
So
And
correct. So there are
and-
quite a few, there are several, I say quite a few, just a few lots that will be fronting Crocut, and the rest of the lots will either be fronting the existing Aiden Woods Road, and we're also proposing a new road. So it'll be only accessible by Aiden Woods.
And then how does that compare to the traffic flow from your current projects under construction? So in other words, will we inflow additional volumes with this rezoning?
Yes, sir. So there will be, you know, a little bit of additional. Unfortunately, we were not the engineer on the original project, so I can't speak to the existing traffic volumes. But I do know, you know, we'll be increasing it by 18 homes. So not significantly by any means, but like I said, if we do cross that threshold of the traffic impact study, we're more than happy to abide by those regulations.
Does this have a direct access point to the current phases?
It will.
It
Yes, sir.
will.
Mhm. The existing road of Aiden Woods, I believe it's phase 3, runs right along, right parallel with that property line. And so we'll be effectively tapping in to that roadway.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chairman, I have just a couple questions or thoughts. One thing I want to make sure of is we keep saying that the adjacent property is all R20, but that's the adjacent property in the city. You know, there's two sides of this that are 5-acre minimum lots in the county. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so you have that, and then you've got Bowie Park on the other side. And That's my one concern with this is, I get it that you can expand over and do more. What I worry about is that the person who owns this property is kind of forced into selling because R20 was put right next to them with very little buffers. Now, if we do R20 straight zoning here, now you're going to have very little buffers up against 5-acre lots. And then, you start this domino effect. And I personally would like to see more transitional zoning. It's good planning. It's good land use to have more transitional zoning, and I'd love to see this at least R40 because this is the transition into 5-acre minimum lots, and I don't want to just ignore the property that's in the county because I think it's important that we make sure we have that, and that's where a pod might come in handy where you could at least set bigger buffers or do something different to create a better transition from R20 to 5-acre lots. Obviously someday those properties might come into the city and they become R40, but you can't count on that. Those people may want to live there for 20 years. And, so to me, that's my one concern with this is that we don't have the right transition. And now you're going to put R20 right against more bigger pieces of property where they're going to be tempted to go, okay, I give up, I'll sell it to you. So that's my one concern relative to good planning and kind of looking at from the big picture.
Ethan, are you guys able to show the concept plan that we have? Just a little bit to your point. So most of the existing natural features actually border those properties to the north. So it will be buffered, by state and by city regulations existing. But I hear your concern.
But you can get permits to fill in wetlands. You can do things like that. And the problem is, this came up earlier, we can look at concept plans all day long, but when it's a straight zoning, it's a straight zoning, and somebody could come in. I know it's not an easy process. It's a long process with the Corps of Engineers, but if you wanted to, you could fill in the pond in the back, you could do other things, and put lots right up against those property lines if you really wanted to. It's probably not economically feasible, but it's possible, and that's my concern with the straight zoning. I'd love to, I think Mr. Carter would say this is not a good idea, but say, fine, if we're going to straight zone it, let's put a condition on that the buffers against the county property need to be 50 feet or something like that. That's my only concern.
My response to that would be that they've asked for the rezone, so in the motion is for a positive recommendation. So if you do not believe it should be a positive recommendation, you should vote no. And then once it fails, I would urge one of you to make a recommendation or make a motion for a negative recommendation. So I would presume that would then pass. And then the recommendation to the BOC, which is the determining body, would be negative from the Planning Commission. I don't think this is the type of item, with all due respect, where we should, they've made the request, and so we either need to pass it on as is or say it's negative, and they can do with it what they want based on the comments that they heard.
Steph, I tried to look back and tried to find where Aiden Woods was rezoned, and it might have been right before me, or I know there's been there's some things that came in front of me that were, but it's been a while. But I was just trying to remember. I feel like it was, hey, Castleberry's this, so we're trying to adjust to it, and I feel like it's already starting to stretch. So this one felt like another and another, where I think I would be more in Commissioner Pape's zone of like, hey, could these be estate lots? Could these be at least closer? Like even if it's a zoning for R20, they're really close, right at. On the lot table. I get the buffers there, but again, once it's zoning, it's zoning.
I'm sorry, I didn't know if you asked a
I
question
was
or I
asking
could-
the staff if
All
they
right.
if they had a reference on what Aiden Woods was before it was zoned for Aiden Woods.
We can find that reference. I don't have it right on hand. Castleberry has traditionally and remains R20. And so as these have been subsequently rezoned for Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 of Aiden Woods, they have matched the Castleberry model of having minimum 20,000 square foot lots. To speak to Commissioner McDonald's point, we did a rough calculation, and going through Phase 1 of Aiden Woods, Phase 2 of Aiden Woods, and Phase 3 of Aiden Woods, they are at 157 lots. Those were all previously approved prior to myself and our staff coming on board. This additional 17 lots would have, of course, pushed them well above the threshold of 100 in that regard. And that would be a point, if this were to move forward, we would require them to have a traffic impact study done as this development is considered and increased in size over the time frame that we've had.
To answer the question, luckily, we've combined all the planning commission meeting minutes, so it's a little bit easier to find now. Looks like this was annexed into the city. I could be wrong, but it says map 22 parcels 64 and 65. But again, could be mistaken here. Don't think that's correct. So I'll keep looking, but it would be my assumption that it might have been annexed, so the default zoning would have been RS 40, and so then it would have been rezoned from that, I think.
That's what I thought I had. And so I just, again, I get that it needs to be next to it, and maybe I was part of a little bit more of like the PUDs being the half and everyone having the, well, now we're on drip fields and all the back and forth. But it seems like there could be a case made of like, hey, we're just stretching it out too far.
Madam Chair, if I could also, I guess my particular heartburn with this one is that it's agricultural residential now, and we abut the park. And to me, we have a lot of growth and higher density areas, and this would be a much nicer buffer transition that would continue to take advantage of the Fairview countryside, which we all fell in love with here, but it seems like it's being chipped away. So for me personally, I appreciate maintaining some agricultural next to the park. But that's just my personal comment.
Madam Chair. Although I feel like everyone makes a good point, I feel like a nice straight zone with half-acre lots is much better than some of the others I've seen with postage stamp lots. And I feel like half-acre lots are what that area has a feel for, so it keeps continuity. Plus, I don't know about y'all, but I know my family can't afford $1 million+ properties. And when you start asking for acre lots, just be ready for people to, these $1 million lots to come in, where I think the half-acre lot is a nice size and more affordable.
One additional question made me think of it when sewer was brought up. The current phases are on public sewer, correct? Is there
Correct.
capacity, have you guys talked to Dixon County, there is capacity to add
Yes,
these
sir.
lots to public sewer? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, one other thing. I think it's always, just a good idea to make sure we have a good buffer. And with a good buffer, if a neighbor wants to sell their property, then that's, their decision. But with a buffer in place, that's what it's there for. If they want to keep their property, kind of secluded, then they can do it with that.
Of the house there's an existing house on the property, how much acreage is staying with that particular lot?
So that lot, I believe, will keep about 2 acres
2
or so,
acres.
give or take. Yes, sir.
And that's on the back side farthest from the road, is that?
Correct. It's actually shown on this plat as Lot 1, and you can see at the very rear, far left, plan left side, you can see that existing home.
Lot table says 52,000.
So 1.5 acres.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any remaining comments before a vote? Okay, take a vote.
Ms. Schulist,
Aye.
Ms. Williams,
Aye.
Ms. Schilling,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Magner,
Nay.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Mr. Pape,
Nay.
Ms. Senyard.
Nay. Motion passes 6-3.
Thank you.
New business, item 3, PC Resolution PC 09-24, rezoning 7312 Lake Road, .865 acres, map 042, parcel 001.01, current zoning RM40, proposed zoning RS15, single-family residential, property owner Regent Homes. Staff, would you, oh, sorry, I need a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Mayor Anderson, was that McDonald? Okay. Staff, would you like to read your comments in?
This project is located at 7312 Lake Road. It's a rezoning. The owner is Regent Homes. They've submitted for a rezoning to RS15, which would match the adjacent neighborhood that they are currently building behind this. This corner parcel is the location where Lake Road and Bluefinch Drive, which is the access point to Richville neighborhood off of Lake Road, intersect. Regent Homes has worked to clean up that parcel, and they're looking to have it zoned to RS15 to build 2 homes. Within the 2040 plan, it is designated this property as a legacy neighborhood new residential medium. The legacy neighborhood classification notes the only appropriate land use is single-family detached residential, and it notes 2 zone districts as appropriate zoning, and those zone districts are RS40 and R20. With this property, it's approximately 0.86 acres. For them to match what they're currently building literally next door in Richville, as this is the entrance to Richville off of Lake Road, RS15 would match that. Richville is a R20 planned unit development PUD. And so within that, they have 75-foot wide lots, and RS15 allows for 75 feet lot widths. Staff recommends approval or a positive recommendation for this applicant and this submission to go forward to the Board of Commissioners.
Would the applicant like to join us?
Eric Olson with Anderson Del Caps. Yeah, the plan up there is kind of what we had in mind as far as 2 lots fronting on Lake Road. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
What size home are you able to fit on those lots? I know the setbacks make it a little difficult, but it looks.
Yeah, it's gonna be tight, but they'll build a similar product. They built a couple across the street, so it'll be something similar to that, what they're building in Richmond.
My name is David McGowan, President of Regent Homes. We propose to build our model home there. The home that we're going to be building on the first lot as you enter the community is called a Danford plan. We built it over before in two other neighborhoods already. That house is right at 2,600 square feet. It'll be a two-car garage with a rear entry that comes off the road that goes into the neighborhood, and it'll serve as our model home for that community. The lot next door to it will be also a 2,500 square foot house, and it has a hook-in driveway. And I've got photos of those particular plans if you'd like to see it. I didn't print them out to bring them to you, but I can show you what we proposed to do. It's called a Danford farmhouse design, and it's again, it's sold in the neighborhood that we built in before in the $700,000 price range.
Are both of these lots technically off of Lake, or is one of them
Yes,
coming
sir.
off of Blue?
They will,
Both
and
Lake?
one will come off the entrance to the side road, and the other one will come off of Lake Road itself.
Okay.
And y'all don't own the lot that's on the other side of Blue Finch. That's just part of, that's a private, that's a,
We are buying and developing lots inside the neighborhood.
okay.
Behind it. Yeah. And then we also have been approached by a couple other neighbors on that street, so we'll probably be back before you again. And we continue to develop Lake Road, and it's done very well for us.
So this was an additional parcel you were able to purchase after Ridgeville?
Yes, what happens, different homeowners in there, the homeowner that owned this particular lot, she ended up buying a home further down the road. And we paid her a premium price for those two lots. They are easy to develop and build on. And
I
again,
guess that was my question. What was the original plan for it, but you didn't originally have it? So there's the answer.
That's exactly right. And so we purchased it. And the parcel right adjacent to this, we're in discussion with that neighbor right now, what they want to do. And again, I have a photo of the house if you want to see what we propose to put on the corner there.
Madam Chair, so essentially, most of Lake Road is legacy from what I'm looking at on the comprehensive plan. So we're kind of chipping away at that piece by piece. I mean, I do appreciate the fact that these are oriented east to west, so at least the impact to the neighbors don't perceive, a subdivided lot, but at the same time, it does change the aesthetic of Lake Road with the higher density. Which, at what point do we preserve it or continue to chip away at it?
Madam Chair. Or possibly clean it up.
Any other comments, questions, discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. This is for positive recommendation, by the way.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Ms. Schilling,
Aye.
Ms. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Magner,
Nay.
Ms. Schulist,
Aye.
Mr. Callie,
Aye.
Mr. Pape,
Aye.
Ms. Senyard.
Nay. Motion passes. I've got 7-2.
Thank you very much.
New business, item number 4, PC Resolution PC 10-24, final plat, Ashland, formerly Burdon Place, 27 single-family lots, 24.55 acres, map 046, parcel 018.00, property owners A1 Home Builders. Do I have a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion to pass.
Second.
Magner, Shoelist. City staff, do you want to read in your comments?
This project is well underway, as they have already broken ground and started grading, and I'm sure some of you at least maybe have heard some concerns from citizens along Crowcut as they've seen the construction of this project continue. They are ready to get ready to go vertical on this. The final plat is in substantial compliance with the construction plans. The property is zoned R20 with 27 single-family lots. Minimum square footage of a lot is 20,000 square feet. Just to put that into the public sphere as they listen. The staff has a positive recommendation for approval for this so that we can move forward and get these homes built.
Do we have an applicant with us at all? Okay. Any questions, concerns, discussion? Okay, let's take a vote.
Aye.
Ms. Schulist,
Aye.
Ms. Schilling,
Aye.
Ms. Williams,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Mr. Callie,
Aye.
Mr. Pape,
Aye.
Ms. Senyard.
Aye. Motion passed. PC Resolution PC 1124, amended final plat, Belvar subdivision, Phase 1A, amending proposed right-of-way and lot design, map 021, parcel 062.00 and 063.00, property owners Northwest Cove LLC. Do I have a motion on the floor?
Move for approval?
Second.
Is that Pape?
Yeah, second.
Sorry. Anderson, Mayor Anderson, Mr. Pape. Staff, would you like to read in some comments?
As you're aware, we evaluated this at a special called meeting a few weeks ago. There were some noted deficiencies within this based on further research and digging into this. This plat and this property is currently zoned RS40. The applicant has updated the final plat to reflect that, now noting that all lots are over 40,000 or minimally 40,000 square feet. They've also adjusted the proposed right-of-way as the city staff has asked and was included in the special called meetings resolution as a condition to show the original proposed right-of-way along with additional right-of-way to give the city variability and opportunity to further plan this intersection prior to it coming into completion. Our staff has a positive recommendation for this final plat to be approved. And if you have any questions, the applicant is here tonight, Ms. Allison Corolla with T-Squared Engineering, and staff is happy to answer anything that you have.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
to give a little history on this, it was, I was under the impression that this was recorded, Ethan, as R20.
Mayor, I apologize. What was your question?
At the special called meeting, let me back up. Okay, so basically, the owner of this property What he was trying to do is move the right-of-way over to his side of the road. I've been working with neighbors on the other side of the road for about a year now, trying to help figure out a plan for this development so that their landscaping, stonework, mailboxes would not have to be destroyed because of this right-of-way being on the other side of the road where the neighbors are. So the applicant, the developer here, he decided he was going to give up a very large lot on the south side of this property to accommodate the right-of-way being on his side of the road so that he would not affect the neighbors on the other side of the road. When this was brought at a special meeting, there's a little confusion about the zoning. And I was under the impression that it was an R20 zone when actually it was an R40. When he gave up that portion of his property on the south side of this development, he took a piece that was, most of these lots are over an acre, at an acre, or over an acre. He took a piece that was at the top and divided it in two. When that happened, it was 1/10 of an acre less than what it was supposed to be, each one of these. So a simple shifting of lot lines would have handled that. But anyway, that didn't happen, and this was discovered, so that's why it's coming back. So I think there was a little confusion in the beginning of, and it has nothing to do with Ethan. This was prior codes department that on some plans it had said R40, RS40. So that's the reason there was a little confusion about was it RS40 or was it R20? But that's a little history behind why this is coming before us.
Ms. Corolla, would you like to join us? I'm sure there'll be some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Allison Corolla, again with T-Square Engineering. So effectively, there is a recorded plat that came through. We were given direction by staff that it was in fact R20. As such, changes, revisions were made to that plat to reflect R20. After further discovery and further research, again, based on previous staff and previous documents and recordation, it was determined that this is in fact R40. And so we are coming before this board again on typical planning commission schedule to bring forth this R40 plat that is in complete conformance with the zoning code. I know it's been a little confusing, so I appreciate you guys working with us.
Any questions, discussion? McDonald? You're just preparing for a vote over there.
Waffling back and forth is what I'm doing. Just to be clear, this process is not an approval of, it's just the right-of-way, right? This has nothing to do with road design or anything like that. So that will all come down the proverbial road, and we will, is that accurate?
All right. The right-of-way designated is dimensioned, and this is the right-of-way the city would have. However, in this notes to the right, Ethan may have it pulled up. Actually, I've got it right here. Any changes to proposed right-of-way on future phase plans will void, vacate, and supersede that shown on this plat. So if by chance they want to realign Northwest Highway or, get rid of the extra widening of the right-of-way at the intersection of Crowcut Road in a future final plat, it will void this, and then our right-of-way will be that. So to go back to your question, you are not approving road design at this stage. You're only approving where right-of-way is designated. Again, it can change in future final plats, and you can vote to say yes or no, but that's essentially what's happening here. No road design has been approved. I believe Allison has sent, design plans for feedback, and we've been in discussion with them, trying to figure out the best route, but this is our current version.
The reason I ask is I'm thinking in my head that the timeline for when pavement is actually being laid and that road is being created physically is probably a while down, once again, the
It
proverbial
will
road.
probably come with later phases.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Although I will say, later phases are sooner rather than later.
Sure, yeah. I guess it does leave open the opportunity to things change in the future, that the original design of that intersection could come back around prior to, I'm not saying it will, or just hypothetically, it's a possibility.
Hypothetically, yes. And I will note too, that note was provided at the request of staff. So that meets staff's requests.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, just a quick technical question. So the right-of-way southeast corner of the plan looks like it terminates at a property line, and then there's property on the other side of that that's, a triangular piece in the curve that might be on an adjacent neighbor's property. What happens to that space? Is it going to be a road to nowhere there? Does that terminate? Is that part of the other right-of-way?
So are you saying if it becomes a three-way intersection?
Yes, exactly.
What happens with that triangle? So that triangle will actually, hypothetically, again, we can talk this out with staff, but that will still be right-of-way. So the city will still own that portion of property. It will just be extra land, if you will.
Okay. Maybe I didn't ask my question correctly. Outside of your property, so this might even be for staff. There appears to be that to the right or plan east of the property line there. Yes, sir, right,
There.
exactly there. What happens to that space since it's,
If that space is not utilized in the future, it would have to be acquired by the city to utilize that space. If that space is not utilized, it remains with the property owner
okay?
of that parcel.
In your technical opinion, does that create a negative impact to how that intersection or right-of-way could be traversed?
You asking Ethan that question or? engineering?
Sorry, you, Curtis, sorry.
Okay, just want to clarify. Mind repeating your question?
Absolutely. Okay, sorry. And I apologize, I know it's 8:25 here, but we are approving a right-of-way that terminates at a property line. On the other side of that property line, looks like it's an adjacent property by another owner. So to me, potentially it's a right-of-way that could go nowhere. What impact does that have on us as a city to approve this right-of-way if we can't use the other side of the property line?
So, you may remember within the special called meeting, there was an adjustment to the proposed right-of-way where the applicant added kind of the curve here at the end. We're looking at a 62-foot right-of-way. If you continue this straight line through the adjacent property, that is a 62-foot right-of-way. With their addition, it allows us to shift that 62-foot right-of-way to avoid the adjacent property, depending on the best needs for the city at the time that this roadway begins its actual design phase for construction.
Thank you. So I can also interpret that, that really gives the city a little bit more flexibility, however that roadway ends up becoming in the future. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
And I'll just jump in here too, because I think I'm the one that asked them to put that on the plan to give that future flexibility. Because the way I look at it, if Mr. McDaniel were ever to change his mind or sell or something, it gives us a lot of flexibility on changing that design in the future and going either direction. So.
Anyone else? Mayor?
Ready to vote? I mean, I just turned it on to vote.
I don't know if
sorry.
you were waffling as well.
No. I'm no waffle here. No waffling here.
Anyone else before I call a vote?
Staff has one more thing.
Okay.
And just a question for Allison real quick. Is that pump station and pump station access road currently constructed?
Yes, sir. It was constructed, so the building was constructed, and so that road had to go in to get equipment and whatnot back to that building. So that building is completed and working on the last final stages with WADC on getting that into public record.
Clustered box unit as well?
It is not in yet. It will be shortly.
All right. We need to add a condition of approval that be installed prior to any COs being issued. That's an important part here.
Mr. Carter, do we
Oh,
need
I'm
to-
sorry. I'm sorry. Well, that's for the board to make that condition of approval, not staff, correct? I recommend you to make that condition of approval.
That both the pump station and the mail, no,
Just the mail, let me get the right terminology, clustered box unit.
the clustered box unit is installed and operational prior to CO. Okay, so we need to take that's, okay. Do I have a motion for amendment?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah.
Clustered box unit, and let's just add and turnaround. Just to be completely matching the final plat, is installed prior to any CO in this phase being issued.
I make a motion that the cluster box unit and turnaround is installed before the CO is approved.
Mayor Anderson, and then I heard a second down here.
Second.
Mr. Pape, so we'll take a vote on the amendment first.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Pape,
Aye.
Ms. Schilling,
Aye.
Ms. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Ms. Schulist,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Mr. Callie,
Aye.
Ms. Senyard.
Aye. And now, unless there's any other comments, we'll proceed with the vote on the actual motion.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Pape,
Aye.
Ms. Schilling,
Aye.
Ms. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Ms. Schulist,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Mr. Callie,
Aye.
Ms. Senyard.
Aye.
Thank you.
I have no bonds and letters of credit, is that correct?
That's correct.
City planning staff, do you have any discussion and information for us?
Thank you all for your due diligence in going through everything. We've had a very lengthy meeting tonight. This has, I think, been the longest one that we've had since I've been here. If you could just reach out and let us know in our department if you have any issues with accessing IDT. I know a few of you have reached out over the last couple weeks. They've done some updating and some different stuff where just if you can double check and make sure you have access to IDT, and make sure you have access to all the documents that come into our office so you can view and make the most informed decisions possible for the city. I know currently we're working on a couple accounts to make sure that they get the correct access that they're supposed to have. It is definitely beneficial so that you're not only reading our staff report and only looking at what we have here tonight, but being able to come in prepared. And that is all that I have. Mr. Pape, welcome to your first official Planning Commission member meeting. So, thank you.
I'm going to assume that no one has a report from Tom at the moment. Okay. City engineers?
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Carter? Okay. Planning Commission members, Mr. Pape, would you like to start?
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Mr. McDonald?
Nothing tonight, thanks. Welcome, Jeff.
Mr. Callie?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Ms. Shulis?
Nothing from me.
Schilling?
I'd like to thank Laser Star for considering coming here. I think that's really exciting, and it's, I think you'd be very happy here. And thank you to everybody.
Mayor Anderson?
First, I apologize for missing the work session. Probably need to pray for the people who were underneath the tractor trailer truck that flipped that caused the interstate to be closed. I sat there for 6 hours. It was closer to, it was I-40, but way, like Tennessee River past that. But anyway, so as soon as I got past that, I zoomed here. So anyway, that's the reason I was late, or not late, but missed the workshop. I did have a Teams meeting with Kevin O'Brien and Josh, just to get familiar with the project, so that worked out really well. I got to see all the plans. I have my own ideas and, I guess, thoughts about what, they're trying to do there. And, it will come before the Planning Commission, so I can express those then. I'm really excited. Mr. Hartman and I got to speak last night for a while while I was in Mississippi, and I'm so excited that you're moving your family here and your business here. Laystar's gonna change our mechatronics program. I mean, I was very involved in it, and when my son was there, and he graduated just a couple years ago, so it hasn't been that long ago, and I know the challenges that the kids have just trying to get these service hours in. So it's really exciting that you're coming here. So I just welcome y'all. Thanks to the staff. You always do such a good job, and the board. Thank you.
Ms. Williams?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Magner?
No comments, thank you.
I don't have anything as well. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved.